of Geb. This is the secret of priesthood and kingship, absolutely. And skipping to page 86, Abraham 1 and 3, he says, from the beginning of time, yea, even from the beginning, or before the foundations of the earth to the present time, even the right of the firstborn, or the first man, who is Adam, our first father. Now, the Egyptian parallel, the Egyptologist up on the top of page 86 here, they note that the Egyptians always trace the royal authority to the pot, the primeval time, the beginning of time. For them, a man of ancient family is a pati. Now, how pleasing to the hearts of men that you glorify the Kenti Imenti, the great God of the beginning of time. And this comes from the Septepi. This is the first time, the great first time. Whose place Atom preferred, which he magnified before his created ones, for whose sake the land was settled, whom the kings of Egypt served since the land was first settled. The king is foreordained to the throne of Geb, who is the primal ancestor, the principle of patriarchal succession. And this, according to the Egyptian scheme of things, is the office of Khepri. What the office of Khepri is, this is the principle of ongoing creation. It's where you change your form, but you retain your identity. It's shown with the beetle. The Khepri beetle is the essence of change through time and yet retaining your actual identity. And this principle of ongoing creation, according to the Egyptians, occurs at the side of my father, who is Ammon. And Ammon is in our facsimile number 2. He's the great god of the creation, according to Joseph Smith's explanation. I believe it's figure 2. I don't have it with me right now. It's not figure 1. I believe it is figure 2, the hidden god. Well, so the foundation from time, the right of the firstborn. Now the Egyptian parallel on page 87 here. Thus were all the gods created, Atom and his lineage. Thus the spirit creation of the gods took place, and the hemsuit, that is the pre-existent spirits. That's very interesting, because this is the right of the firstborn even into the previous life. Very interesting. Well, and so it was said, he who begot Adam and the other gods is Ta. Ta, P-T-A-H, Ta, is the opener father. Very interesting, the opener father. The beginning of this whole situation. All things come forth from him, and after all things were created by his word, Ta was well pleased with everything. See, the king is foreordained to rule over the 2 lands, to the thrones of Geb and the office of Khepri. Geb is the primal ancestor, Khepri the principle of an ongoing creation at the side of my father. Now, Abraham 1:3, I'm on page 88 now. Abraham 1:3 says, through the fathers this is what came unto me. I sought for mine appointment unto the priesthood according to the appointment of God. He says that in Abraham 1:4. The Egyptian idea, see, Thutmose III claims as his fathers Adam, Re, Ammon, Osiris, Dudin, Ta, Horus, Herakti, Seth, Toth, each of whom figures as the primal parent and creator. See, they want to establish this connection from the very beginning, so they go way back into the primeval times. This is exactly the principle Abraham claims he was ordained unto, taking it right back to Adam from the biblical angle. It's a remarkable parallel here. It's a fascinating setup. Now, the right of the king, this is in Egypt again, to his kingdom, this was established only by the divine genealogy of Heliopolis. And the great council at On, that is the city of the sun, and this is Heliopolis in the Egyptian. It's called On in the Bible, but it is Heliopolis in Egypt. The great council would proclaim him king, by acclamation upon establishing the pedigree of the gods or the lineage of Horus. And this goes back to Atom. Adam, being the primeval deity. Oh, very interesting. I give thee my seat, my authority, says Ammon, and mine inheritance which I inherited, because I am thy father. See, this is what Ammon says to the Pharaoh. Now, Abraham, verse 4, chapter 1, says, I sought for mine appointment unto the priesthood according to the appointment of God. And the Egyptian idea is the king got his authority by appointment. It's the very same principle here. The great corporation of Heliopolis, what this thing did was it acknowledged the divine rightness of the king on earth with the acknowledgement of his divine descent. This was pronounced in the course of a court procedure. I, Ammon, give thee the throne of Geb and the office of Atom. Now, in Egypt, see, one of the principles is that the king has to justify his title. And the way he does that, of course, is to prove legitimately his descent from the fatherhood of Geb. You see, the primal throne. Geb. This is Abraham's view. 1:4, he says, unto the fathers concerning the seed. Unto the fathers concerning the seed. Isn't it interesting that in Egypt, they say the two lands are filled with the children of thy children. Multitudinous, in fact, is the number of thy seed. Thy Ba is created in the hearts of thy people, and she, that is Hatshepsut, is the daughter of Ka-Mut-F. And this is the coronation priest who doubles for the king. Well, skipping to verse 26 in Abraham chapter 1, I'm on the bottom of page 89 in Nibley's book, Abraham in Egypt here. I don't want to try to lose you here. The theme being established by the fathers in the first generations, in the days of the first patriarchal reign, even in the reign of Adam and also Noah, his father. A note here, Nibley has a note. Here Noah is called the father of his descendant. In the Shabako stone, it reads, so all the gods and all the spirits came together. And the purpose of this, of course, is to hail God upon his throne. See, this reminds you of Enoch, doesn't it? Enoch's ascension to heaven and gaining the throne of God. Moses is described as a god unto the people, so on and so forth. The righteous inherit thrones in the book of Revelation. Margaret Barker, in her book, The Revelation of Jesus Christ, is huge on this. She has a very, very interesting section on commentary on that idea of inheriting the throne of God. Well, now the Shabako stone says the same things. They hail God upon his throne. They rejoice before him in his temple, which is the source of all good things. The temple, in other Egyptological studies that I've gathered through the years, this temple is called the House of Life. This thing was actually endowed with life. They believed it actually was a living thing, and they called it the House of Eternity, and so on. So very, very interesting there. Well, on page 90, this is the pattern that the ancient Egyptians followed. The king passeth through the secret doors in the glory of the Lord of eternity, following his footsteps, in the ways of the great throne. Then enters the heavenly court, and mingles with the gods, with Ptah, the Ancient of Days. He's literally the Lord of Years. And then finally, in the Shabako stone, line 64, being received into the company of the gods, who were before and after him, with the gods of Ta-Tenan, the first settlement of the earth. Now this is the point of setting this up, not to show that the book of Abraham is inheriting paganism.